All right, so today we're going to talk about an algorithm. But this isn't something you'd code in Python or C++. No, this is an algorithm of human realization. It was born from a super high-stakes personal crisis and a really analytical mind. And the whole story? It kicks off with a very, very specific number.
$173,004.42. I mean, look at that precision. This isn't just some random figure pulled out of a hat. It's the calculated result of a really complex simulation. It's a number that basically represents a data-driven claim for justice. But honestly, the story of how we get to this number, that's way more important than the number itself.
See, this incredibly precise calculation is tied to a really profound human cost. And that just brings up a huge question, right? How does a systems engineer, who's facing total systemic failure and personal ruin, build a framework that not only spits out this number, but also leads to a much, much deeper discovery about the limits of code itself?
So to get the answer, we've got to look at the battlefield, so to speak. And look, this wasn't some corporate project with a cushy budget. This was a super high-stakes personal legal crisis. It was the application of a hardcore engineering mindset to that crisis, a methodology that its creator, Jerry Hirschfeld, actually calls forensic warfare.
And here's the really interesting part, the big shift in perspective. Instead of just seeing the legal battle as, a bunch of arguments back and forth, forensic warfare treats the whole thing like a flawed system, like a machine that's completely broken down. So the goal isn't just to win, it's to diagnose the failure and then architect a real solution.
Okay, think of it like this. Imagine a building just collapsed. You're not the person just clearing away the rubble, no. You are the structural engineer. You're there with your blueprints and precision tools, trying to find the exact stress points, the faulty beams, the design flaws in the original system. You're mapping the entire failure so you can demand a precise accounting of the damage. It's a totally different approach.
And this was not theoretical, not at all. Hirschfeld applied these exact principles to his own personal legal case. He was challenging what he saw as major systemic failures in child support enforcement, and he used his engineering toolkit to pinpoint alleged fraud in the paperwork and to fight back against what he said were unlawful collection practices. And believe me, the stakes could not have been higher. That number you see, 527, that represents the documented human costs behind this whole data-driven battle. We're talking 527 days of homelessness, which he argues was a direct result of the exact systemic failures he was trying to engineer a solution for. Just wow.
So, you might be asking, how do you even begin to fight a battle like this? Well, you don't just walk in with a bunch of legal pads. You go in with a highly specialized toolkit. It's a system that Hirschfeld calls digital alchemy.
So the whole idea behind digital alchemy is transformation. It's about taking all the raw, chaotic, emotionally charged data from a personal crisis, what he calls raw glass, and using technology to grind it down, to shape it into a precision-ground lens. It's about creating something that gives you absolute, undeniable architectural clarity out of pure chaos.
Now, the technical foundation for this is pretty sophisticated. It's basically a three-part AI system. First, you've got an ingestion engine that just pulls in all the raw data. Then, a shaping protocol uses AI to structure and organize everything. And this is the crucial part. A Sentinel protocol uses feedback to constantly refine and improve the output. It actually treats the dialogue itself as a form of architecture. Pretty cool.
But, for all that complex tech, it all comes down to this one simple, powerful principle. The whole point of the system isn't just to organize information. It's to create a level of understanding that actually leads to a change in behavior. The technology, it's just the means to a very, very human end.
Okay, so building the tools is one thing, but using them without letting your own ego get in the way and corrupt the whole process, that's a whole other challenge. And it required adopting a really specific mindset, a kind of philosophical persona he calls the vibe coder.
So what's a vibe coder? Well, think of it as a psychological check on yourself. It's this internal reminder that after you've built the most precise, rigorous system you possibly can, you have to detach. You've got to let the work speak for itself and avoid that trap of needing personal credit for the outcome. It's about letting go.
The best analogy for the vibe coder is a lighthouse keeper, right? This person spends all their time engineering the perfect lens, building the brightest light, but once it's running, they step back.
Their success isn't measured by people clapping for them, it's measured by the ships that safely make it to the harbor because of their work.
Okay, so we've got the crisis, we've got the tools, and we've got the mindset. And when you bring all three of those things together, well, that's when you get the central breakthrough of this entire story. It leads to what's called the Epiphany Algorithm.
And just to be clear, this is not code you can just run on a computer. It's a moment of profound realization. It's the process that leads a creator, someone who's been working in total isolation on what feels like an impossible problem, to finally understand that the final, crucial piece of the puzzle, it isn't in the machine at all.
And here it is. This is the core output of the algorithm. After all the data processing, all the AI architecture, all the forensic analysis, the conclusion is, well, it's stunningly human. The missing variable you need to solve the equation isn't more code, it's not a better simulation. It's community wisdom. It's people.
This simple analogy of the clockmaker really tells the entire story in a nutshell. I mean, you can be the most brilliant engineer on the planet. You can build the most technically perfect machine imaginable. But without that simple, external, human input from the community, from the villager who knows what time it is, your perfect creation has zero connection to reality. It's functionally useless.
So, after all that, what's the ultimate lesson here? After a journey through forensic warfare, digital alchemy, and the lonely work of a coder, where do we actually end up? Well, the great irony of it all is that a path defined by such rigorous engineering and advanced AI leads you right back to the most fundamental truth there is. For our systems to actually work, for our code to have any real meaning, and for our biggest problems to be solved, they have to be grounded in human wisdom and human connection.
And that leaves us with one final question for you to think about. In a world that we're building that's more and more based on code, what essential human variables are we forgetting to include? What impossible problems are we trying to solve with isolated logic, when maybe, just maybe, the answer has been waiting in the community all along?